Hello, my friends. How are you? Hi, my name is Natasha, and I am the creator and founder of the Glow Up Method. I am so excited to be here with you today. I am really working through some stuff, and I've been super honest and vulnerable about that. If you haven't been in the know, I'll quickly inform you. Today is Tuesday. On Sunday night, my son ended up having a significant injury and accident in which his tendon and his muscle pulled off a huge chunk of his tibia, which is the lower part of his leg, and his kneecap is currently floating and it's dislocated. So ER visit Sunday night, was taken there via ambulance. Thankfully and unthankfully, I have, some insider information. And so I was able to get him into an appointment on Monday, which then set him up to, I already had sent the surgeon the photos of the x-rays. He was flabbergasted that surgery wasn't already done on Sunday. But on the same turn, I'm so glad that he will be with my son will be operating on a pediatric surgeon, and not just a pediatric surgeon, the same surgeon that's already operated on my other son twice. So I have some form of rapport and trust there. We will be going all the way out to Palo Alto for the surgery, and that will be happening tomorrow at this time. This is what we will be doing. Obviously not what I first saw on the cards, not what he foresaw, and yeah, it's really difficult. It's been a challenge. I did thankfully get a little bit more sleep last night. I even today, and I think it's part of my body just processing, the physical demands, because he is unable to lift his leg, which means, when he needs to adjust in bed, it's me adjusting him, and his leg is like this big now. And so it is solid and it's heavy and he cannot lift and move it. So it is put your back into it. Like, I am moving it. And, if he needs to go, like yesterday, he was in a wheelchair to all the doctor's appointments, in and out of the car, in and out of the wheelchair, in and out, because I wanted him to see the eclipse and going to the bathroom and things like that. So like propping his leg up, it is very physically taxing. Like, you don't even think about like those little things. And then this is just me. Like, for him, it's taxing. It is around the clock, every 3 hours, he's either taking an Advil or a Tylenol. He's still in excruciating pain, and I had it up elevated last night, and his little stubborn butt didn't want to call me and tell me, hey, this is like really hurting me. Like, I would have just came down and moved the pillows. Like, I am on call for these reasons. And, he was like, I was trying to scoot back. I was trying to do this. I'm like, don't suffer. Like, the goal for you right now is to be in comfort, like as comfortable as you possibly can. So, I got him something he wanted to eat today, and he elevated it for a bit, and when he was done, he was done. But the foot and the leg and the ankle are so swollen that I'm like, can we try to get it up a little bit? So he tolerated some. He's got some ice going right now. I'm gonna get this done. I'm debating right now. Like, I have still quite a few steps. I'm not gonna be dancing probably the rest of this week, and so I'm debating right now. Do I go do a class tonight or not? Like, I want to be with him, but I also need self-care. So I'm really juggling what it is that is best for me in this moment. And I don't know. That's TBD. It's going to be literally a game time decision. As soon as this filming is done, it'll be like, okay, either I need to just finish up my steps and, go about all the other things, or I'm going to have to sneeze here, possibly, rush off to the gym. So I'm thinking I'm heading towards just go dance, just be free for a few minutes, and then come back with my tank as filled. I'll be depleted because I'm tired, right? But tomorrow is going to be a long day. So I'm going to get my steps done in the morning. I'm going to get my filming done in the morning. We have to leave here probably about 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. I'll be in the hospital, and I'll probably be writing and doing some kind of documentation. And, sometimes I just kind of think, like, sometimes I'm just sitting there. Through Dylan's, I purposely left my steps. This one, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. I haven't decided. So I may leave some. I might get the bulk of them done tomorrow morning. But again, that's like neither here nor there. It's just my kind of mental prep of what's going on. But I do have to say this, like, there is so much power in a community. I appreciate it so much. Like the parents that are reaching out to me, the players that are reaching out to Tyler, the teachers that are reaching out to Tyler, the doctors, the healthcare workers, like, you know, from everybody from the people dealing with the insurances and bumping other patients in order to get Tyler in. Like, there is so much that goes into it as he lays here and in pain and waits to be repaired, right? Like, he's like Humpty Dumpty. He's got to get put back together again. And, it's so reassuring to know that there's this community out there. Like, he needs to get into PT. PT is totally booked right now for the entire next week. Dylan's physical therapist is also out of town, which gives them even less flexibility in there. And so like we're in there, so we get the ability to be like, hey, can we bump Dylan, put him on a wait list, and, you know, give Tyler's appointment? Of course, like, you know, like Tyler's needs to get in, and, you know, here's an option. And I'm like, hey, if we ever need to double up, like, I'm good with that. Like, I was not foreseeing this 4 hours a week in PT, and then let's talk about the getting there and the getting back and all the logistics. So it's going to be an interesting and trying time, but I'm gonna make it work. So again, this is like I said, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't get the job that I had applied for, because I would have, at this point, I would have turned it down. I would have been like, I cannot, like, this breaks my heart, but I must not take this position. You need to give it to somebody else who can fully invest in this. Like, there is no way I can do this, because who's going to be taking the kids to PT and coordinating all the things? Like, it would take another me in order to do everything that I do. So, you know, there's that. And then, you know, things, you know, like it's challenging because, you know, I don't really have a partner to really talk to at this time. Like, you know, since there has been that like confirmation that our relationship is over, like, it's gone from like, it was bad to like, hey, this was like tolerable. Like, this weekend we went like as a semi-family to the zoo, and we went out and ate, and we had a good time, and we, you know, communicated well. And, you know, the next day we went to go do stuff, and I got a little bit of resistance, and it was like, again, it was like, I was like, hey, can we do this, you know, for Karina? And it came into like, well, I don't have this and this and this. And I was like, okay, like, we weren't talking about you. I was like, can we do this for Karina? And does this mean you don't want to do this for Karina? Like, you know, I really try to, like, instead of being like going into my old ways, it was like, I can recognize this pattern. I don't want to go down this road again. And it was like, either you want to help or you're not going to help. That's the bottom line here. And it's not for me, it's for your daughter. But if you want to, great. If you don't want to, great too. I can't control that. But again, something like this happens, and it was like, it was fine, and it's brutal right now. Like, because of course he's going through his own thing. Like, everybody is processing this grief and this situation in their own individual ways, and there's no right or wrong way. And, you know, we differ in many ways, and how we deal with kind of tragedy and trauma is very different. And, you know, he has his own stuff going on, and I won't, you know, divulge that, like, but like, he's working through his own things, but it still is really hard on me, because it's like a lot of anger towards me, a lot of like harsh comments and things like that. And it's like, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to ask, like, how you doing? How you hanging in there? I know this is tough, like, asking about things, and it's just kind of a one-way road. And I get it. Like, he's been clear he doesn't want to be my friend. I get it. I've been clear that I want to be your friend. And I think I have to accept that too. And again, you know, just as much as he has to do what's right for him, like, at some point, living with an enemy is not like healthy for me. So like, living with a friend, you know, a friendly roommate is fine. But like, living with an adversary, like, you're trying to be your adversary. I don't have time to waste energy or my heart on that kind of stuff. Like, you either want to be my friend or you don't. I'm not going to sit here and beg you. I'm not going to sit here and be kind and all these things just to be received with harshness. Like, I have other things I can be doing with my time. So it is sad in some ways that there isn't somebody I can lean on. Hence is the reason why I end up breaking down and crying in front of my 24-year-old. And, you know, when, you know, my 18-year-old is asking me questions, instead of like, usually I would keep kind of things inside. Like, I was like, no, it's difficult. Like, for me, like, this situation is this, like, I'm just going to be honest, is that he was asking about like, well, can you, because I was like, he's like, oh, you're not going to get any lunch. And I was like, I'm just not hungry. Like, I know I need to eat, but I just, in these situations, I like lose my appetite, which made him think. He was like, oh, so when you're about to have a baby, like, can you eat? And I was like, I think you can. And like, until you get to the hospital, they let you eat, like you can eat, but like, unless you have like a plan, like procedure, like a C-section. And he didn't even know what this was. I had explained to him what this was. And, I was talking about that, and I was like, and also at that point, like, you're not as hungry. You got a lot going on in there. Like, there is not a lot of room left in there. It's not full. It's stuffed. It's got, babies and placentas and fluids and all kinds of stuff going on in there. So it's like everything is squished. It's like a lot of times you're just not. And I go, but the funny you ask, because I was like, I literally have been what they call as nesting. And he was like, what is that? I'm like, well, like a mama bird. She builds the nest for the bird, like as before the eggs go in, and the eggs are there. She's very protective of the nest. So it's like cleaning up the nest, all this stuff. So that's what I was saying. I was like, I'm cleaning everything, organizing things, because it's like, here's this like life event, this big thing. And I like to just have things in order and tidy so we can find it. It's, like, doesn't have disease. It's not, good energy, good vibes, like not like looking around, and I could just like sit and lay with him and not be like, oh, I need a vacuum, or, this is a mess. Why is this a mess? So like really getting it to where I can be in peace in the environment, to be in peace and show up for him and make sure like in my own way, it's protecting him. Like, even though it's like not, but it is like in my mind, like having everything disinfected and clean post-surgery and pre-surgery is super important. Like, I know that's just my way. So, I want to keep him in optimal health before going in so that he can come out in optimal health. So yeah, I mean, the ankle like is non-existent. The foot is like elephantitis. Like I keep just kind of like rubbing it and like kind of like getting the blood to move. I'm like, kind of like wiggle your feet around and things like that. Cause it's like, it is so swelled up. Like everything is so inflamed in there. Poor kiddo. So I'm excited for him to be able to do that. I'm excited for him to be able to start his day one, right? Here we are back to our day one. It was going to be one day, on Sunday, and now it's tomorrow. So, he's going to take some time. It's going to be a rough little weekend. I had really anticipated, perhaps taking Dylan down to UCLA to go see if he wanted to just check it out. And there was the admitted day on Saturday. So I'm not sure if I will be up to that event or if he will be. Again, it's just a matter of getting like a hotel in LA. It's not like it's like something like, that like you can't, it's LA, right? Like, so it's not like it's gonna book up or whatever. I don't care if it costs me a little bit more money because I didn't do it in advance, whatever. But we'll see about that. And then we'll just see how Tyler does. I'm just praying that he has a really successful surgery. They're going to also scope him to make sure nothing else is in there going on. That gives me some trepidation, but it also gives me some solace. So like, we're not like dealing with something later on. It's like, we know what is in there. And if it's fixable at that time, I'm sure the doctor will fix it at that time. If it is not, then we will, cross that road, hopefully never. But yeah, so like it's still crazy to me. Like there is still definitely a form of shock. There's still, like they say, like if anything, there's like all those different stages of grief or whatever it is. And it is so true because it's like shock, it's like disbelief, like, all those things. And there's some I get through. So, again, I was grateful that last night I woke up only a few times and it wasn't in that like same level of panic, but it was like, okay, it's still there. We can talk through. Like in the shower this morning, I was like, okay, here we go. Daily dose of dysregulation. I'm right back at you. Let's just breathe through this. So using these tools, using these things. And what I would say like is so important too, is really leaning on the community. And that can be in various ways, right? That could be saying, hey, I need help. That can be, for me, a lot of times it's joining different groups. And even if I remain anonymous, or if I in private DM somebody, like there isn't a lot of information on this. So I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot. I don't care. Like what is worse, somebody's not going to answer me. Like there was this woman and her child had this in January. And I don't even know. I just Googled put in the word into Facebook, and this lady's post came up. I don't know, how invasive is that? Like, but it came up and I could see her child's journey, and I was like, oh, okay, like this happened. That kind of looks like his leg, sounds like his story. And it was just so like comforting to hear, like, okay, here was somebody who's been through it. So like I was saying before, like, it's such this, like, we're coming into something new, but like, again, like the young man that was leaving the doctor's office that was like, oh, yep, this happened to me on Halloween. So, you know, you'll get there. We've been through it all, the wheelchairs, the this. So it's like this ebb and flow, this give and take. And it seems like you're alone in the experience, right? Because nobody's like right next to you experiencing it. But it's like you're here, you're learning, and then, you know, you're going to keep going, and then somebody else is going to come in the door and you can share your wisdom and experience with them. That's like this, right? Like, I've been through these things. I've been a mom. I've supported kids. I've been a caregiver to elderly patients. Like, I have, you know, been a traumatized little girl. I've had like a lot of different things that have happened to me, and to just hold on to it seems so pointless. Like, you know, like, at least if I'm out there sharing it, that maybe it touches somebody else and helps them, or if it can't help them, help somebody who helps somebody else. Like, you know, like, and that gives me some kind of like, well, this at least happened for a reason. Like, it may not be good, it may not be like something I would have wanted, but there's like a lesson, and it may not have been me that benefited from it, or a lot of times these things do benefit us. It's just not necessarily in the very moment, but that like somebody benefits from it. Somebody has to have a little less learning curve. Like, again, like, you know, it's like learning curves. It's learning how to put them into the car seat the most, you know, efficient way without bumping their head or your head or whatever. It's the same thing, like lifting his leg into the car, lifting him. Oh, okay, here, we put you this way, you put your arm here, you do this. Like, all the like trial and error runs that we did with Dylan that was like failures. Like, I don't have to go through all the failures, and I had to be like, wait, hold on, no. Like, it was like I had to rewind the tape. Like, a lot of that stuff had went into remission, because it was like, oh, we're not going to need these skills anymore. We're going to go way back here into remission. And then suddenly I need it, and it was like, there you go. Oh, we still have that information available. And so Tyler can definitely benefit, and older me, you know, even though it's only a few months older than me, but the older me can also benefit. And my son at one point was like, Mom, at this point, I am so glad that you have taken care of your health, because I can only imagine how challenging this would have been for you had like you still been morbidly obese. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I physically would have had the power and the strength to, you know, because I'm out there squatting, like I am lifting a leg, but I know how to do it. I'm not bending with the back and everything. I'm like out there, okay, here we're doing a squat. It's like a weighted squat. Here we go. There's 40 pounds of leg here. Like, let's get up, let's go. So I say lean on your communities. I end up joining like a couple of communities. A lot of them had adults, so it wasn't like the ACL community I found that was like parents of ACL, because that was such a common injury. But like, even just having that and reading resources and hearing other people's stories. And I know from my own son's experience, like no two journeys are the same. And I do know this, like a lot of the people that do post into these forums tend to be more the ones that are experiencing a little more challenges. I would say, like, people tend to share the more difficult parts, and the people that are like good and fine are like, I'm good and fine over here. Like, I came in, I popped in, I got the information I needed, or I vented something, and now, like, you know, I'm good. I'm off living my life. And so they're not still on the forums. And so, like, I remember my son too was like, you know, and myself, I was like, wow, is he just really doing that well, you know? And I kind of thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I think, you know, the people who tend are the ones who are struggling a little bit more. They're not over here like, hey, everything's going super good. And, you know, like those stories kind of get lost in the process. So, you know, I like it because I like to be prepared for the worst case scenario, but I'm always hoping for the best. So it's like, I want to know and I want to be prepared. I don't like a blindside. I feel like I'm more like equipped when I'm like, okay, let me just pull off the Band-Aid. Let me deal with what it is, process that, and then just simply hope for the best. So that's where I am today. What I do know is he's having surgery tomorrow. And what I do know is there's no better person to support him in this very moment than it is me. And, you know, it's helpful that his brother even has this. And we've had these ins with the doctors because, you know, we were able to get the information over right away. We were able to get, you know, somebody else's surgery bumped. Like, you know, we're bumping my own kids' the other kids' physical therapy in order to get his brother in. Like, had not all these things aligned and all these things didn't happen, this road for this particular son would not be as easy. And so I'm not saying that it's a good thing this happened to the other one, but I'm just saying that for my son, he definitely is reaping the benefits of being, you know, the fourth child and being the younger sibling of, you know, somebody who went through this experience, because they know us, right? Like, and not that you don't root for or go for or do, like, you have that flexibility, you know, they're not going to just bump somebody else's physical therapy, you know, like they can bump. I with my agreement, I was like, yes, go ahead and put my other son on a wait list. But again, if my son didn't have that appointment, then you know, they're not going to just bump somebody else's surgery. Yes, you know, but like a physical therapy appointment, no, they're not going to do that. And I know they always have my back. So the minute something comes up, they're going to be like, hey, something opened up. Cool. We'll go in. So, I say that to say, like, it's just a challenge though. I'm not going to say that it's not. And it is a real reminder to me how beneficial the tools are to keep you grounded when the dysregulation comes, when the life isn't as pretty as you want it to be. And, you know, like right now, he should be off playing soccer. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, perfect weather. He should be out there giggling, having a good time with his buddies, learning a little bit more about the game, playing, running around in the sun. And he's laid up on the couch waiting for mom to move his leg. Like, it's a very different experience from where he should be. Tomorrow, kids are going to be eating lunch and he's going to be getting his body cut into, you know, like, this is like the stuff that, like, I think about, like, when you're sitting there in that room or walking, like I'll probably be doing whatever, as your child is going under, you know, you think so many things, and that you think, like, outside the walls of this hospital, obviously within this walls of the hospital, and this is a children's hospital, so I know many worse things are happening there. Like, again, like, I've been in that same hospital and somebody was cutting into my child's brain. Like, I have been in that hospital and my daughter was one of the first cases of COVID for an adolescent, and they didn't know it, like, and was literally unable to breathe, like, was on around the clock. They had no idea what to do. Like, it was just really bad. You know, so just so many things, like, could be worse. Like, that's that. Like, I've been in there with heart surgeries. Not that hospital, is a different hospital. But I've been around it. I've seen kids on cancer and chemo. Like, you name it, I've seen it. And so I know that there are parents navigating much more challenging paths than what I will be on tomorrow. But it doesn't negate the fact that it isn't hard for us, right? Like, this is our hard. And but it is very humbling, and it is a great reminder to just control what are your controllables. This is what's in our control. He isn't outside running around playing soccer right now. That just isn't in the cards. But this is, and we can take and deal with this with the best grace as we can and learn every single lesson from it, and hopefully have the opportunity someday to teach that and support somebody else and give back that kindness shown to us. And so, like, that is never forgotten, and that is like such a wind beneath our wings kind of experience. And so I'm so grateful to have this platform in order to, like, share with you guys how it is exactly we resilient Russos make it through. And it isn't easy, and it isn't pretty, and there are days that you just want to cry, and there are days that, you know, you take a sleep so that you just don't have to think about it. And, you know, there are days that you just muscle through. Like, it's just, you're using your muscle memory, and your muscle memory is, all right, take care of your kids, get it done, and all this stuff. But I feel like this time is so much different. I mean, there's been so many opportunities in here where it's like, hey, let's check in. How you doing? Like, how are you doing mentally? Like, I can tell you how I am. Like, who cares? Like, right? Like, I mean, who cares? It's important, but really, you're the main character here. We are the supporting act. Like, how are you? You know, like, what is it like? Like, again, it's a blessing and a curse to like have had a sibling who literally shares a bedroom with you. So you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. You've seen it all. And so it's like, you know what to expect, but then you also know what to expect. You know that it's going to get bad, but you know it's also going to get better. Like, you know, but so it's like it's a blessing and a curse, like, to have that information. And I think more so it's a blessing. Like, I think it can alleviate a lot of the questions. And again, like, no, hey, I'm going to deal with the worst case scenario. And so, you know, his biggest thing is like, is it going to hurt? And I was like, well, you're hurting right now, right? Like, I'm like, so it may not feel like this hurt, but it may feel like a different kind of hurt, you know? And he's like, what does that even mean? I was like, I don't know, because I've never had it, but, you know, I would imagine the hurt of like not having a bone in its right place isn't going to be there, but I would imagine the hurt of having now screws in your body and a cut in the body. I'm sure that's a hurt, right? Like, and again, you just had surgery, so there's probably swelling and your body is pissed, like something cut into it. Like, but I think, you know, from what this one mom had said, and because she did respond, like, again, I don't even know if I got to that. So she had posted, I felt like a biggest creep. I'm like, hey, I saw your thing. My son did this on Sunday. There's not a lot of information. I'm just trying to gather more information so I can kind of wrap my head around it. He's having surgery Wednesday. Any advice, tips, tricks would be great. You know, she went ahead and indulged in the story, shared it. And I so appreciate that. Like, I you know, because that just helps to be like, yes, this was his story, and maybe my child's will be worse, and maybe my child's will be better, but he only did pain meds for like a day, you know, like he was able to be weight bearing in 4 weeks. So, you know, 4 weeks on the crutch, like, okay, not, you know, like, this is doable. Like, you know, like these things are doable. I can't even like at this moment remember how long Dylan was on crutches, but I know it took 6 weeks just to have him have a surgery. And that was torturous. Like, the waiting is the hardest part sometimes. Like, let's just go, but we couldn't because the surgeon wasn't available. Like, there was too much swelling. He needed to build up the quad. Like, there were all these variables in there. So it's just so nice to be able to just have it as go time. And I'm just praying, fingers crossed and crossed and crossed. It is just this injury, that nothing else, everything else is intact in there. That's the vibe I'm going for, please. And yeah, so I'm so glad I did this. I have a touch of a headache. I feel like a little heaviness around my eyes and tired. But I think I might go dance just to like get it out and just be in the back of the class, because it's a 2-hour back-to-back one, and just go have some fun, get it out, and then come home, help him take a clean shower and get him nice and cleaned up for the procedure, and you know, just kind of go from there. That's my thought process, and that's my vibe in this very moment. And I think that that's what's best for me. I have to remember that I know I want to just stay here and be here for him and forego everything else. But I know I need to put my face mask on so that I can show up best for him. And so please remember that as you too are caregiving. Like, remember, you need your face mask on and do the things that refuel you so that you can show up better for the people that you care about. And I think that's the difference in how I'm not freaking out. I'm not, you know, lashing out. I'm not any of those things. Yes, I will have a breakdown moment, and I will probably have a few more before this is over. And then at some point in time, this will be a distant memory. It'll be just another one of the stories that I tell. And I tell not because of anything, but it's like, if this happened, then there better be a lesson in it. And if it isn't a lesson for me, then a lesson for somebody else, or have some kind of story in there that really made it all worth it. It's like each one of these stories is its own life and lifetime, and they were worthy of a story. So I say thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you as part of my community. Some communities we interact with on the daily. Some communities we interact with like over the World Wide Web, like some we do personally, some we do via text or messaging. And no matter how you find your community, is a random Facebook group, a random person that you message out of the blue, like that's your community. That's who's there to help and support you when you feel like you're gonna fall down. So like I can get the support and the refill so that I can go to him and be the best version of me, which will help in his healing and his recovery. So I say thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding that sometimes I'm gonna just need to vent about these kind of things. And I hope that you understand. And I hope that you understand that I am a part of your community too. That when you need somebody, reach out to me. I am here for you. I'm here to offer you my advice, or not even my advice. I'll share you my story and what worked for us, and you take it and do with it whatever you choose. So thank you. Please go out there today, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. So thank you so much. Bye.